If you have followed my channel for some time, you'll know that I like Zelda games and I like snow levels. What better way to conclude winter month than doing a top 5 Zelda snow areas? Hell, number 1 may surprise most people. And also don't worry, Ice Palace from the Link to the Past is not on the list. I had to put something from Ocarina of Time on the list, and Ice Cavern is the only option. Found in the corner of Zora's Fountain, this mini dungeon is where you find the Iron Boots and the Blue Fire, which in turn gets you the Zora Tunic. Those two items in which gets you into the Water Temple. Many of the challenges here use the ice well, whether it's dodging icicles or pushing ice blocks around. This is a short area though, and I can't put it much higher on the list for how minimal impact it has on the game. Also, I do hate those ice kissies. I need an area from Breath of the Wild too, and the Hebra region was the best option. There is no dungeons in Hebra, it only is a passage to the Rito village. There are also minimal shrines too, so like most things in Breath of the Wild, the main story has no merit on this region. I put the Hebra region on this list simply because I like it. It has both snowfields and snow peaks to explore. You can play snow bowling and enjoy some snow sledding. The Leviathan Cave may be one of the neatest spots in the entire game, plus those lights in the sky are simply amazing. So while it isn't story heavy, the Hebra region is an amazing place to explore. Returning to the dungeons, we have the Snowhead Temple and Majora's Mask. It's the second dungeon in the game, and the only time the Gorons are associated with the coldest region in any Zelda game, as far as I know at least. With the dungeon item being the fire arrows, many of the puzzles are about managing and melting ice obstacles. The main room in the dungeon is a giant skyscraper where either the Goron Link can roll from one side to the other, or you have to raise the central pillar to the correct height. While the dungeon is short and sometimes feels lackluster, it definitely deserves to be on this list solely based on the boss, Got. Man, Got is one of the most fun bosses in all of Zelda. Snowpeak Ruins in Twilight Princess is number 2. At the end of the windy Snowpeak path, the ruins is a creepy house for a snow monster and his two-faced wife. The mansion is both fun to explore and features many innovative puzzles, with the main ones being cannibals destroying those ice sculpture beasts. To help destroy all the ice, the dungeon item the ball and chain helps clear the path for you. It is hard for me not to put this number 1 as it was a very fun dungeon, but the boss is Blazita. It's kinda hard to associate Blazita with anything that is number 1. You're surprised at number 1? It is the Minish Cap's Temple of Droplets. It is the only 2D Zelda game area on this list, and actually it's probably the first time I ever gave 2D Zelda any love at all. And this hybrid water-ice temple has many flaws too. The dungeon is a tiny iceberg in the middle of Lake Hylia, so you have to shrink to Minish size in order to explore it. This leads to many silly enemies you face, including a blue Choo-Choo as the mini-boss, and a giant Octorok as the main boss. The item you get in the dungeon is also a lantern. Yeah, that's not really that exciting. The dungeon is split into 2 parts, with the first section being a water one where you have to ride a lily pad around, and the second one being more of a dark icy section where you have to use your flame lantern to 1, light the rooms, and 2, melt any of those obstacles. It's also interesting too because you find the big key in the first 5 minutes, which is a pretty nice mix-up from other Zelda dungeons. The ultimate goal of the dungeon is to unmelt the frozen element. By doing so, you have to open up the skylights in the main room. Also happens to unfreeze the Octorok too, so that itself's a problem, but whatever. Actually, those skylights have gotta be one of the most important parts to this dungeon, as you solve many puzzles with them, and it is a pretty interesting concept. I also love the music here. It creates an icy yet dangerous vibe to the entire dungeon. So there it is, top 5 snow areas in Zelda. Hope you agree with the list, as you may be frozen to death if you don't. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.